The Labour Party of Nigeria has always been known as a party that thrives in moments of crisis. But what happened recently was not just a crisis. It was an earthquake that shook the very foundation of the party. At the centre of it all was Julius Abure, the man who had been holding on to the title of national chairman for years. For some time now, there had been whispers, doubts, and quiet discussions about whether his time as chairman had actually expired. Many party members, including those at the grassroots, had started to wonder if Abure was simply clinging on to power when his mandate had already run out. But like most political storms in Nigeria, people ignored it at first. It was easy to brush it aside. After all, politics in Nigeria often runs on power, influence, and survival instincts. As long as Abure still had some control over the structures of the party, many assumed he would continue in his role, whether his tenure was legally valid or not. He still held meetings. He still spoke as the chairman. He still acted like the leader. But deep down, a battle was already brewing, and it was only a matter of time before the truth would surface. That time came with the decision of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The announcement came like a thunderclap across the political scene. Inec and the Supreme Court had reviewed the matter and reached the same conclusion: Julius Abure's time as national chairman of Labour Party was over. His tenure had expired. He had no legal standing to continue calling himself the chairman. The weight of those words was heavy. This was not just an opinion from a political opponent. This was not an attack from social media commentators. This was a ruling from the highest electoral body in Nigeria and the highest court in the land. Both institutions, standing on the law, declared in plain language that Abure's chairmanship had ended. It was final. It was binding. And it was not open to debate. For Abure, this was a direct blow. For months, maybe even years, he had carried himself as the face of Labour Party leadership. He had made decisions. He had represented the party in national matters. He had positioned himself as the guardian of the Labour movement, especially after the 2023 elections when Peter Obi brought unprecedented energy to the party. But now, in one decisive moment, all of that authority was stripped away. It was more than just a personal defeat for Abure. It was a complete collapse of his political control. Overnight, the chair he had been sitting on was pulled away from under him. The symbolism was clear: no matter how powerful you think you are in Nigeria's political system, when the law says your time is up, your time is up. This was not just a quiet announcement hidden in a legal document. No, this was a loud, public declaration that cut across the nation. News outlets carried it. Political observers analyzed it. Nigerians at every level heard it. Inec and the Supreme Court had sent a clear message to the entire country: leadership positions are not permanent seats. They are temporary responsibilities. And once your time has ended, no amount of force or maneuvering can keep you in office. The Labour Party itself entered a state of shock. For many members, Abure's exit was something they had imagined but never thought would happen so suddenly. For others, it was a moment of relief. There had been complaints that Abure's leadership had dragged the party into unnecessary crises. There were accusations of selfish decisions, questionable alliances, and internal divisions that weakened the party when it should have been growing stronger. His removal was like cutting off a chain that had been holding the party back. But even beyond the party structure, ordinary Nigerians saw the announcement as a test case. Could the institutions of Nigeria actually enforce rules without bending to political pressure? Could the Supreme Court and INEC really stand on the law instead of playing politics? In this case, the answer was yes. They stood firm. They declared Abure's tenure expired, and that decision opened a brand new page in the story of Labour Party. The moment also revealed the fragility of political power. Think about it. One day you are the chairman of a national party, giving orders, enjoying influence, holding press conferences, being addressed with respect. Then suddenly, with just a few words from INEC and the Supreme Court, your authority evaporates. The microphone is no longer yours. The title is no longer yours. The position is gone. It shows how temporary political power can be, and how quickly it can disappear once legitimacy is lost. But it was not just about Abure losing power. It was about what comes next. If the seat of chairman was now declared empty, who would step in? Who would guide the party forward? Who would take responsibility for the millions of Nigerians who looked at Labour Party as their only hope for political change? These were the burning questions that instantly followed the ruling. At that very moment, the Labour Party was like a ship that had just lost its captain in the middle of a storm. The passengers were looking around, anxious to know who would take the wheel. Some feared the party could fall apart. Others believed this was a chance to rebuild stronger. One thing was certain, there could be no turning back. Abure's era had ended, and it had ended with a loud slam from both Inec and the Supreme Court. His story as chairman was closed. The nation had witnessed it. And now, the stage was set for the next leaders to step in and redefine the future of the party. This was not just another political drama. It was a defining moment that would shape how Nigerians saw Labour Party, how they judged its credibility, and how they imagined its role in the fast-approaching 2027 elections. The breaking point had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. When the announcement came that Julius Abure's tenure as Labour Party chairman had expired, it did not just end his authority. It immediately opened the door for a new leadership structure to take shape. Nigeria's politics does not tolerate a vacuum, and once the chair was declared empty, the pressure to identify new leaders was immediate. The Labour Party had to move fast. It was not just about filling a position. This was about credibility. After the 2023 general elections, Labour Party had become the face of hope for millions of young Nigerians, professionals, market women, traders, artisans, and workers who wanted something different from the usual political games of the big two parties. That hope was fragile. It was built around figures like Peter Obi, Otti, and others who had carried the party's message of change. If Labour Party allowed itself to look divided or weak after Abure's removal, that fragile hope could break. The party could collapse before 2027 even arrived. So, the decision came quickly, and it carried the weight of law and institution. Inec and the Supreme Court made it clear that Abure's chairmanship had ended. The natural next step was to recognize acting leaders who could take over responsibility for the party's direction. This was not something left in the dark. It was official, and it was public. The first name on the list was the man almost every Nigerian expected. His performance in the 2023 elections shocked Nigeria's political system. He did not win the presidency, but he broke records for a so-called third force. He pulled millions of votes, especially from the youth. He had become a political figure larger than Labour Party itself, and in many ways, he was the true face of the movement. So when Inec and the Supreme Court pointed to him as one of the acting leaders, it was seen as a natural outcome. Nobody could reasonably question it. Obi's recognition was more than symbolic. It gave him official authority inside the party structure. To the elections, many had accused him of being sidelined by Labour Party leaders who were more interested in control than in building a true national movement. With this new order, those accusations fell apart. Obi was no longer outside the main decisions. He was now sitting at the very top of the structure. It was a victory, not just for him, but for the millions who believed in his message of integrity, prudence, and competence. But Obi was not alone. The second name that appeared was Otti, the governor of Abia State. His inclusion was powerful because it brought real evidence of governance into the picture. Nigerians had already begun to notice Otti's performance in Abia. His reforms, his focus on cleaning up corruption in state accounts, and his emphasis on infrastructure had made headlines. He was not just talking about good governance, he was showing it in action. For Labour Party, having Otti recognized as part of the acting leadership meant the party could point to a living example of its values. It gave them a story to tell beyond rallies and speeches. It gave them a record. The third name raised eyebrows but also expanded the conversation, Nenadi Usman. She was not as loud in the public space as Obi or Otti, but her political experience could not be ignored. She had been in government before, she had worked in finance, and she understood the old structures of Nigerian politics. Bringing her into the Labour Party's acting leadership was a strategic move. It balanced Obi's freshness and Otti's reformist governance with Usman's political depth and institutional knowledge. She represented a bridge between the young movement and the old political order. This trio was not chosen randomly. It was a careful balance that spoke volumes about where the party was headed. Peter Obi represented the vision. He was the dreamer, the man who carried the image of a new Nigeria in the hearts of millions. Otti represented the proof. He was the evidence that good governance was possible, even in a system drowning in corruption and inefficiency. Nenadi Usman represented the connection. She could navigate the complex networks of Nigerian politics, helping the party avoid being swallowed by inexperience. The moment this acting leadership was announced, Labour Party shifted from crisis to opportunity. The fight over Abure's expired tenure ended, and a new story began. Inside the party, members who had been divided now had to choose between clinging to old structures or rallying behind this new order. Many began to rally. The energy started to return. The whispers of collapse began to fade, replaced by cautious optimism. For ordinary Nigerians watching from the outside, the reaction was mixed but intense. Supporters of Obi celebrated. To them, this was justice. This was the confirmation that their leader was not going to be pushed aside by internal politics. This was his time to shine. In Abia, Otti supporters saw it as a reward for their governor's performance. They felt proud that one of their own was now officially part of National Labour Party leadership. For those who knew Usman's background, it was a surprising but reassuring addition. It showed that Labour Party was not just about emotions, it was also about strategy. Of course, not everyone was happy. Abure still had loyalists who felt his removal was too sudden, too harsh, or even unfair. They argued that he had played a role in building the party before Obi's arrival. They believed he deserved more respect. But those voices quickly found themselves drowned out by the authority of Inec and the Supreme Court. This was not a matter of personal opinion anymore. The law had spoken, and once the law speaks in such matters, even politics must bow. The bigger picture here was what this meant for Labour Party heading into the next elections. With Obi, Otti, and Usman at the helm, the party now had a unique mixture of hope, proof, and strategy. It was no longer just a party of rallies and slogans. It was becoming a party of serious actors with both vision and results. Nigerians could now see three leaders standing together, each carrying a part of the burden. But this new order also brought responsibility. The trio could not afford to disappoint. They had been handed leadership in a dramatic and unexpected way. They could not afford to fight each other or fall into the same traps that destroyed other parties. They had to show unity. They had to prove that this sudden shift of power was not just about removing one man but about building something bigger, stronger, and lasting. And so, the Labour Party entered a new chapter. The old guard had been pushed aside. A fresh leadership had been recognised. It was like watching a play where one actor exits the stage suddenly, and three new actors enter together, carrying the weight of the story. The spotlight was now on Obi, Otti, and Usman. Every step they took would be watched. Every decision they made would be judged. Every move they made would either strengthen or weaken the party. The new order was here. And with it came the possibility of turning Labour Party from just a rising star into a true national force that could not be ignored. The test of leadership had only just begun. The removal of Julius Abure was not just about the end of one man's tenure. It was about the direction of Labour Party and, more broadly, about the kind of politics Nigerians want to see in the years ahead. When Inec and the Supreme Court both declared his time as chairman expired, they were not only solving an internal problem. They were shaping the future of a political movement that had captured national attention. Labour Party is not an ordinary party anymore. Before 2023, it was seen by many as a small group with little influence beyond a few states. But the entrance of Peter Obi into the party completely changed that story. In less than 1 year, he turned the party into a national force. He carried millions of votes across the country. He inspired the youth in ways never seen before. Suddenly, Labour Party was no longer a fringe group. It was a serious contender. This is why the removal of Abure mattered so much. If the party had remained stuck under expired leadership, it would have damaged its credibility. Nigerians would have looked at it as just another party where leaders refuse to step aside when their time is up. But with INEC and the Supreme Court stepping in, the party was forced to reset. And that reset gave Obi, Otti, and Usman the chance to step up. Now, with this new leadership in place, the road ahead is full of both opportunities and dangers. For Obi, this moment is a silent victory. Many of his supporters had feared that Labour Party would sideline him, that internal fights would weaken his influence before 2027. But now the opposite has happened. He is at the center of leadership, not as an outsider pushing for recognition, but as one of the acting leaders recognized by law and structure. This gives him a real platform to prepare for the next presidential race. But Obi's challenge is bigger than just holding a title. Nigerians expect results. They want to see a Labour Party that is organized, structured, and capable of winning, not just shouting about change. The 2023 elections taught an important lesson: passion alone is not enough. There must be grassroots organization. There must be strong polling agents. There must be a system that can compete against the ruling party machinery. This is where Obi's new position comes with serious responsibility. He cannot afford to simply inspire with words. He has to build the actual political foundation that will carry him forward. For Alex Otti, the new chapter is equally important. As the governor of Abia State, he has already earned respect by showing Nigerians what Labour Party can look like in government. His early reforms in Abia, cleaning up the payroll, cutting unnecessary spending, and pushing for transparency, are exactly the kind of actions that fit the Labour Party message of accountability. But the challenge for him is this: can he take that success beyond Abia? Can he show Nigerians that his reforms are not just state-level experiments but a national model? His inclusion in the acting leadership gives him that platform. He can now use his voice not just as a governor, but as one of the recognized heads of the party. This will allow him to shape strategy, influence candidate selection, and help build the structure that Labour desperately needs nationwide. The danger for him, however, is distraction. If he focuses too much on national politics and neglects Abia, his credibility could suffer. Nigerians are quick to judge, and if they see that he has abandoned his state duties for national ambition, it could backfire. So, Otti must strike a balance, proving his governance in Abia while also playing a central role in Labour's growth. Nenadi Usman's inclusion brings another layer to the story. Many Nigerians were surprised by her recognition, but when you look closely, it makes sense. She has deep experience in Nigeria's political system. She understands the inner workings of government, finance, and the networks that run politics behind the scenes. For Labour Party, which is often criticized as inexperienced, her presence adds maturity. She is like a bridge that connects the energy of Obi and the record of Otti with the practical knowledge of navigating Nigeria's old political order. But her role will not be easy. She will have to prove to young supporters of Labour Party that she is not just another politician from the past. She must show that she is ready to embrace the new direction, not drag the party back into the old ways. This will be her test: can she adapt, can she win trust, and can she help Obi and Otti without overshadowing them? If she can, she becomes a valuable asset. If not, she risks being seen as a weak link. Together, Obi, Otti, and Usman now carry the heavy responsibility of shaping the party's road to 2027. The removal of Abure created space for them, but it also removed excuses. They cannot say, "We are being blocked." They cannot say, "The system is stopping us." The system has now placed them at the top. It is their duty to deliver. The road ahead is not smooth. They will face challenges from within and outside. Inside the party, there will still be loyalists to Abure who feel sidelined. There will be others who are hungry for power and will try to cause division. Managing those internal cracks will be the first test of this new leadership. If they allow Labour Party to split into factions, all the progress will vanish. Outside the party, the ruling APC and the main opposition PDP are watching closely. Both know that Labour Party is the wild card in 2027. Both know that Obi's movement has the potential to upset the traditional balance of Nigerian politics again. They will not sit quietly. They will attack, they will strategize, they will use their resources to weaken the new leadership. They will try to exploit any mistake. But this is also where the opportunity lies. Nigerians are tired of recycled leadership. They are tired of excuses. They are tired of promises without results. Labour Party can stand out by being different, by showing that it is serious, disciplined, and united. If Obi can provide the vision, Otti can provide the evidence, and Usman can provide the strategy, then the party stands a real chance of reshaping the political space before 2027. This new order is not just about titles, it is about responsibility. Every statement they make, every policy they present, every alliance they build will matter. They have to prove that Labour Party is not just a protest movement, but a government in waiting. That is the road ahead. In politics, moments like this do not come often. Abure's removal was dramatic, but it created an opening. It forced a change that might not have happened otherwise. Now the question is simple: will this new leadership rise to the occasion, or will it waste the opportunity? Nigerians are watching, not with blind loyalty, but with cautious hope. The truth is this: 2027 will not be about emotions alone. It will be about structure, about discipline, about results. And if Labour Party can get it right, this ruling from Inec and the Supreme Court may be remembered as the turning point that made history. The road ahead is tough. The battles will be fierce. But the stage is set. The new leaders have been chosen. And Nigeria is waiting to see if they will rise, or if they will fall.